overwhelmed actually. It was a complete surprise. I wasn't expecting it. It was a pleasant surprise nonetheless. It's easy when you are doing the work and executing the work, thinking about the work more than you probably should, that there are other people who are watching you do those very same things. So I am actually quite grateful that someone saw fit to nominate me for the award in the first place. Thank you. I am an engineer by training, a mechanical engineer. My focus in my third year at university was actually power systems engineering, and I first entered the world of energy through traditional fossil fuel fired plants. That being said, then I looked around at the environment and recognized that if I want to continue hiking in the lush countryside of Barbados the way I like to at the time, and if I wanted to continue to take part in the water sports I used to take part in at the time, then taking care of the environment would need to be a key part of that, and we could not continue doing things as we had been doing for quite some time. I was fortunate while at the utility that I was working at to have the opportunity to branch out then into the renewable energy spheres that they were looking into at the time. That sparked my interest then in looking at the implications of renewable energy applications for renewable energy, and I was fortunate to be able to take part in the projects that the utility was looking into at that point in time. And it kind of grew from there. In the Dominica case, I would have become involved in the Dominica project through my work at the Caribbean Development Bank. The transaction is the first public-private partnership that would allow the development of a geothermal power plant in the English-speaking Caribbean, which is quite a landmark for us at the bank. The geothermal development in Dominica, of course, predates me. The work has been ongoing. Renewable energy is not so much a sprint as it is a marathon sometimes, depending on what the resource is that you're trying to tap. And there's no denying the amount of work that has been done in previous years, previous administrations, previous partnerships to bring the wells and so on, the infrastructure to the place necessary where we can now implement the power plant. I've previously worked with geothermal energy before this Dominica project as well. I've had some interaction with the geothermal project in St. Vincent as well. I recognize currently that a lot of the CARICOM territories are making individual efforts towards their renewable energy goals and targets. In another 10 years, it would be good to see a more unified approach to that. That could be, for example, in pool procurement, to be able to obtain the technologies that are required to implement to be able to exploit the renewable energy that's available here in the region. What is a large project for a territory, in our view, is quite a small project in the eyes of international vendors. So there are some economies of scale that could be tapped if pool procurement could be used to be able to access larger tranches of equipment and so on. And then there's also the cost to mobilize and bring that equipment here to the Caribbean. So that's one aspect of it. We also recognize that not all territories are blessed equally with the renewable energy resources. So in the example of Dominica, we recognize that the geothermal potential is so much larger than what we're actually initially now beginning to tap. There could be opportunities in 10 years' time for the exploitation of not just the national demand, but the national demand plus. And if we're thinking really long-term, interconnection between islands to be able to export, we could be having a CARICOM energy market if we take the thought that far ahead. There is quite the strong view that one must have or should have ideally an engineering degree to be able to participate in the space. And while I'm not denying that that is indeed important if you're aiming to enter the space on the technical side of things, I would say that because of the integral role that energy plays in most economies, the implementation of the renewable energy projects is not just purely a technical pursuit. You need to underpin that with an understanding of the social implications, the environmental implications. You have to structure the deals appropriately such that no parties are disadvantaged. So there's space in the energy sector for lawyers, for environmentalists, for economists, for those parties that play an integral role in underpinning the implementation such that it is just and equitable for all. So yes, we can always use more engineers, but I would want to say that you need not limit yourself to thinking that the only contribution you can make is if you are that person. I would also add that I know I've been fortunate to have the support of my community, my family, many allies and mentors throughout my career in utility and otherwise. the allyship and the support of the ladies that I interact with in the Women in Renewable Energy group as well. I would say look for community and just do it. Take that leap and great things can come from there.